Hi everyone, Teddy Baldassarre with TeddyBaldassarre.com, and in this video we're looking at a new watch from Zenith, a dive watch, believe it or not, with the Zenith Defy Revival A3648. So on this channel we cover watches available for purchase on our website, TeddyBaldassarre.com, as an authorized dealer. So in this video, deep dive on this timepiece, final points of consideration at the end, but also throughout the video if you have further questions or looking to buy this watch, check out the link in the description down below to the product page. Without further ado, let's jump into the video, take a closer look at this watch. When listing off brands that have made indelible marks in the watch industry during the 20th century, Zenith would be a name you would unquestionably mention. As you look at the crucial years of Zenith's history, 1969 jumps off the page of delivering many firsts, most famously with the release of the El Primero chronograph caliber, a movement that was among the first automatic wristwatch chronograph movements to ever exist, all while operating at a higher frequency of 5 Hz that was seldom seen even in 3-hand watches of the period. Beyond that, 1969 was the year that marked the release of the Defy. The Defy collection had a very clear intention at the start, to develop robust and over-engineered designs that could withstand any hurdles that came with the day-to-day, being topped off with distinctive case and bezel shapes. The Defy name was officially kicked off with the referenced A3642, yet an overlooked progression of the Defy name came in the same year with the release of the A3648. This watch was ahead of its time in many regards. Its colorway was eye-catching in a period of uniformity, its case shape was aggressive with its many sides, and its water resistance of 600 meters was a number that could outdo many diving legends of the industry. With the recent A3691 Defy getting a revival treatment, it was only a matter of time before another key release was going to be tackled. This time we have the Zenith Defy Revival A3648, being the next in line to get Zenith's reimagined treatment, also while being the first dive watch to receive the revival treatment. So as we delve into wearing dimensions, we encounter a watch that aligns with its revival position. The 37mm diameter, 15.5mm thickness, and 44mm lug-to-lug create a compact feel that wears true to its size, if not slightly larger due to the unconventional elements such as the exotically angled case, hooded lug design, and vibrant colorway, which obviously we will talk a little bit more about later. For anyone with a smaller to medium-sized wrist or those with a preference for vintage wearing dimensions, should appreciate the unique dimensions that counter most other dive watches on the market that we're seeing here. One area that I will call attention to is the thickness, as it's a number at 15.5mm that was a concern when I saw it listed out prior to having a chance to wear it. And while I'm not going to say that this watch is going to play well with the snuggest of sleeves, nor could it be confused for being thin, it thankfully doesn't wear to its full measurement given the structure of the case, primarily with the case back, which sits flat on the wrist, hiding part of the side profile when worn. Now back in the 1960s, this watch was among the most extremely capable dive watches out there, achieving 600 meters of water resistance, a number that still today is impressive, edging out horological legends of the deep despite having an exhibition case back. Looking at the case more broadly, its variety of shapes creates a distinct silhouette with an 8-sided outer case, a notch rotating bezel, and a step steel polished bezel setting a perimeter to the dial opening being of 14 sides. At 430 is a 6mm star sign screw down crown that assists in enabling its stellar aquatic performance, and the case is predominantly polished at nearly every visible surface apart from 2 distinct points at the top and bottom facets of the case that angle down towards the hooded 18mm lugs housing the multi-link bracelet. The bracelet doesn't deviate from the retro plot, being brushed apart from smaller polished interior points, having links of the screwed-in variety, and it tapers mildly until meeting the brush fold-over locking clasp. The clasp is signed and comes with 5 points of micro-adjustment, as well as coming with a fold-out diver's extension, which although probably rarely going to be used, could be worn over a wetsuit. The bracelet is comfortable to wear with its links draping around the wrist. The clasp, though, is difficult to get open compared to others that I have come across, though I found similar to what you would do with a Tudor Black Bay clasp is you want to grab it from the sides rather than trying to get a finger in the proper position to pry it open. When you take this route, it's much easier to manage. Shifting over to the bezel, we are greeted with a unidirectional 120-click bezel capped off with a sapphire insert showcasing its orange elapsed time track underneath. The near 2mm coming from the crystal has a cut step, ultimately culminating with its heavy dome, enlisting the help of anti-reflective coating on both sides, giving us a view of the vibrant pop of orange permeating from the dial. Now, we would be kidding ourselves if we didn't talk about this dynamic aspect that is the color choice for these watches, being directly informed by the past and developing a playful approach contrasted with the serious specifications on display. When seeing early pictures of this piece, I thought to myself, this watch is going to be orange. And after seeing it in person, that's when I started to realize how orange and punchy this dial really was. The outer track sets the saturated foundation with white linear markings for the minutes and larger rectangular superluminova filled printed hour markers that extend to the central black dial, with the external track only being broken up by the 4:30 date. The balancing equation of contrast is continued with the dial text at 12 and 6, with the only applied element coming from the ornamental Zenith star. At the dial center is a 3-hand stack in, you guessed it, orange and white, with a simple stick second hand with a rectangular indicator, a pencil-style hour hand, and arrow tip minute hand. The superluminova in the hands, hour markers, and within the triangular indication on the bezel work in tandem to create a decent, though not exceptional, showcase of nighttime legibility, especially for a watch that's going to be capable of exploring the murky depths. The legibility, though, is surprisingly strong with its use of white, which starkly separates from the rest of the color elements. Shifting to the back of the case, we are greeted with a surprising sight for a watch capable of 600 meters of water resistance, a sapphire exhibition caseback showing off the Zenith Elite Caliber 670. Zenith is uniquely positioned where, apart from having legendary designs of watches, they have one of the strongest reputations of movement production for a brand in their class, with the pinnacle of this acclaim coming from the 1969 creation of the El Primero, arguably the most legendary chronograph movement to ever exist. The El Primero caliber nowadays is typically reserved for chronographs, though we have seen some exceptions to the rule with it finding its way in other watches. However, for these revival pieces in the 3-hand variety, Zenith typically calls on their venerable elite calibers, such as the other Defy revival A3648. The specific movement here is the Elite 670. It's constructed from 144 individual components, providing the time and date, hacking seconds, operates at 28,800 vibrations per hour or 4 Hz, and is offering 50 hours of power reserve. The caliber isn't a showstopper, but it's finished attractively for its price, with up decoration with a Côte de Genève finish on the central bridges, micro perlage on the base plate, and a tasteful skeletonized rotor topped off with the Côte de Genève finish and a Zenith star. And while this watch makes no specific claims of its timekeeping, the example we have on hand here was keeping solid time of +2 to +5 seconds a day when being tested across 5 different positions. So now let's recap looking at this new Zenith A3648. So this is a distinct watch from Zenith that you would not expect, simply put. Let's talk about some of the cons and shift into some of the pros and why you might want to consider this watch and why this one made an impression on me at Watches and Wonders this past year. First, talking about some of the 2 challenges that I would mention is I think many people, when they look for this pop of color and playfulness, they usually like to do that at a more attainable price because of the lack of versatility that you can employ when you have a watch of this style. So you're probably a more specific type of person if you're looking in the direction of this watch, which honestly I think Zenith understands when they're developing a piece like this. Further, the thickness is the only aspect of the wearing dimension, which again does not wear to the full extended point. I talked about the crystal being around 2 millimeters thick. With the 37mm diameter paired with the thickness, it is going to, of course, wear a little bit taller than maybe some other dive watches out there. But now we shift to some of the positives and why I think this watch separates from many of the other watches out there on the market. And I think that's the first point. This is a distinctive look across the board. The color choice, the angling of the case, the combination of the water resistance rating of 600 meters, which you probably wouldn't expect when you first look at this piece, this playfulness with the design of not taking itself too seriously while having some serious specifications to go along with it. And also another aspect that I think makes this watch unique is going to be the case diameter. We have seen the revival craze and vintage reissue that have come with dive watches that have seen more in that 38 to 39 millimeter range. This is taking that even further with looking at a 37 millimeter case, 600 meters of water resistance, and wearing unlike pretty much anything else I can think of with the case shape and all the different angles that you're dealing with here. And then one final point to just sum this up and why this watch really struck me at Watches and Wonders is when you do what I do on a day-to-day basis, oftentimes you're confronted with the same reoccurring themes and the same reoccurring types of releases where nothing seems to catch you off guard. This watch caught me off guard. I didn't expect a dive watch to look like this from Zenith. Yes, it's a part of their history, but I think this goes and demonstrates how this is such an underrepresented brand, an underappreciated brand, where you have, yes, the El Primero family of chronograph calibers, well documented, but there's a slew of other releases, models in their history that maybe aren't talked about enough, and I think this watch represents that. A creative design from their past with remarkable water resistance from a brand that you probably wouldn't expect to release it, but in my mind, I think that's what makes it even more endearing. All right, guys, well, that's all we have for this video. If you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon. That really does help us out, and I do appreciate it as well. Also, if you are in the market for this watch, we do have it available on TeddyBaldassarre.com. TeddyBaldassarre.com is an authorized dealer of over 30 brands, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. In addition, how we're able to fund all of our production on our main channel as well as here is through selling watches. So if you are in the market for a watch, we'd love to have your business. We know you can buy a watch in a lot of different places nowadays, but it allows us to keep doing what we're doing here. We love what we do. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.